What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Dilly Vanilly back here with another video, and when I say another video, it's the first solo video for me on the channel in a very long time. Of course, I've joined streams here in the last couple of weeks, but I decided, playoff predictions, that was a video that I always was able to do and had a lot of fun doing when I was a member of the Bottom Line View. And now that I'm back here on a part-time basis, I said, let me get a solo playoff predictions video in, and so that's what we're doing today. We're going to be going over my predictions, my complete 2023 NFL playoff predictions, and see who I think is going to win Super Bowl 57. All right, we're starting off on the AFC side, and then we'll work our way to the NFC side. So first matchup of the wild card, we have the number 7 seed Miami Dolphins taking on the number 2 Buffalo Bills. I'm sorry, Dolphins fans. You kind of got lucky you even got to this point. So many losses towards the end of the season. No Tua, and I feel really bad for them. It's just a very tough situation. With no Tua, you're probably going to Teddy B. If Teddy B is not able to go, it's going to be Skylar Thompson. I don't think either of those guys are going to be able to match up to what the Bills bring to the table. Bills are a powerhouse. They know what they need to do. They want to have a long run of the playoffs, and they're just a better overall team. I don't think I need to say much about this game. I think the Bills are going to win pretty handily. Next matchup, we have the number 6 seed Baltimore Ravens taking on the number 3 seed Cincinnati Bengals. For the Ravens, I think the question is about, again, another quarterback situation. Is Lamar going to play? He's had that knee injury, and over here in the last month, Tyler Huntley has had to start, and he has kept the team afloat, I guess. They really haven't done much. They really haven't done anything on offense. They have probably the worst receiving core out of any playoff team right now. They don't have any weapons, and I know Mark Andrews is there, but they don't ever throw it to him. He's probably their one guy you could rely on, but they don't rely on him. So Mitch and I said, if there's a team you probably want to play in the playoffs right now that is a playoff team, it might be the Ravens. It's either going to be the Ravens or the Dolphins. So Bengals, they're just stacked across the board. Offense is great. Defense has been doing pretty solid as of late. I just think the Bengals are the stronger and more competent team here. So I'm going with the Bengals to win this one. Next up, we have probably the best matchup in the AFC wildcard round. We have the number 5 seed Los Angeles Chargers taking on the number 4 seed Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot of people are picking the Chargers here. I think they are a very good team. Herbert here in the last month or so has gotten this team from, they were struggling. I believe they were 6-6, and then they ended up going to 10-6 before, the end of it, where they didn't really matter against Denver. That wasn't important to them. But I think this Chargers team is a very good team, but I'm actually going to pick the Jaguars, and here's why. That momentum going into the playoffs is huge, and playing in front of your home crowd, man, Jacksonville wants to win at least one playoff game. Like, Doug Peterson is going to push his guys to the max to try to get that win in front of that home crowd, because he's been in that kind of situation before. He was obviously the Eagles head coach. He's won a Super Bowl, and he's done a really good job of leading this very young squad who's getting a ton of money. Well, let's not mistake that, especially on offense. They're getting paid a ton of money. I think it'll be close, but I'm going to go with momentum here and pick the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now on to the NFC side, I'd say we have one uninteresting matchup and 2 pretty interesting matchups here. Let's go ahead and get the uninteresting one out of the way. We have the number 7 seed Seattle Seahawks, Kevold Seahawks, versus number 2 seed San Francisco 49ers. I'm sorry, Seattle. I do love the story. I appreciate what Geno Smith has brought to the table. I appreciate what Pete Carroll has done for this team. And I really love the fact that this team was counted out from the very beginning and they were able to get this spot. That being said, the 49ers are the Seahawks daddies this season, and the 49ers are one of the best, if not the best team in the NFL right now, in my opinion, because their offense is great. Even with Purdy as their quarterback, Mr. Irrelevant himself, he's done very, very good. And then you got McCaffrey, then you got Kittle, then you could have Debo coming back, then you got Ayuk, and then you go to the defense, and they're insane. So the defense is really more of what I'm looking for in this game to be the big decider. I just think they're going to swallow up Seattle, just like they did in that Thursday night game they played about a month ago. So going with the 49ers here. Next up, we have the number 66 seed, New York Giants taking on the number 3 seed Minnesota Vikings. This is a very intriguing matchup because these two teams have been a lot of fun to watch, but for very different reasons. The New York Giants, they really have had this spark going this season with Brian Daboll as the head coach. He has been fantastic fantastic. He should get a ton of votes for Coach of the Year this year. Daniel Jones, I've had many complaints about him over the years, but he's looked very good this season, his best season overall, and his rushing has been fantastic as well. Go check out Mitch's video on Daniel Jones. And Saquon has come back. He's bounced back in a huge way. I love to see that. And their offense has been pretty good overall. On the other side, the Vikings have been very fun because they play in the craziest games you'll ever see. This season has been a roller coaster for them. They obviously have their incredible highs of one-score games. Then they have these ridiculous games where they get blown out time and time again. They were 11-0 in one-score games this season. That is the NFL record. So I'm going with the Vikings here. I know it's going to be a close matchup, and I am expecting people to pick the Giants just because the Vikings are so unpredictable. A one-and-done team kind of is in the air, if you will. But I think Justin Jefferson is going to go off. I think the run game with Dalvin Cook could really be a big factor. And then TJ Hawkinson, boom, throw it to him, and I don't know if the Giants are going to be able to stop them. I think the pass rush is going to be key in this game. I could see Kirk throwing an interception or two, but I think it's going to really come down to maybe a one-score game, and Kirk has to lead a drive, and he gets it in for the touchdown. And there's probably a chip on Kirk's shoulder given his contract with the Vikings, and having this kind of season, you want to win and at least make it to the divisional round. So I'm going with the Vikings. And to finish the NFC wildcard side, we have what I think is the biggest matchup of this wildcard round. We have the number 5 seed Dallas Cowboys taking on the number 4 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible, but man, what a heck of a season for both of these teams. I don't know if it was all the way positive. For the Cowboys, they started off with an embarrassing week 1 game against the Bucs, in which they lost 19-3. Dak got hurt. Cooper Rush came in and played pretty well up until his very last game, which was against the number 1 seed Eagles. He was able to hold the Cowboys afloat. Even if he wasn't the greatest quarterback, he was able to get those last minute drives and lead the team. Dak came back. He played pretty good, honestly, for 6 or 7 weeks. And then here in the last month or so has really struggled. Bucs, who other than their game against the Panthers, have looked very bad on offense. They have the worst rush game in the entire NFL. That one game against Carolina gives probably people more hope, and they're playing at home. But I'm going to go with the Cowboys on this one. I just think they're the better team overall. And I know people are thinking one and done, right? That's what the Cowboys mantra is. They're always one and done. And Brady's never lost to the Cowboys. That's going to be a stat that everybody brings up here. But I think the Cowboys are a better team. I think the Bucs probably have the better defense right now. But if Dak tries to not force balls in there, makes the right plays, and maybe Pollard gets the run game going, I think this could be good. Plus CD, man. CD is crucial, and I think the biggest X factor actually for this team on offense is Dalton Schultz. Get Dalton the ball. He needs more catches. That's all I'm going to say. I think the Cowboys are a better team overall. I could see obviously the Bucs winning, but I'm going to stick to my guns here and say the Cowboys win this final wild card matchup. All right, we're back to the AFC side to talk about the divisional round. Our first of 2 games here is the number 4 seed Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the number 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs. Sorry, Jags, your time is not now. It is over. It is over after this game. You're outmatched on this one, brother. Defense for the Jags, I think, is going to be outclassed by the Mahomes-led offense. He is the MVP this year. He is him, if you will. Kelsey is your guy, but there are so many guys that Mahomes has at his display to just be like, here, you can run the ball, or I can throw it to you. We can do this ring around the rosy stuff. It doesn't matter to me because I'm Mahomes. And of course, Andy Reid, being the coach that he is, the great coach that he is, he's going to say, okay, we're in the divisional round. It's the first game of the playoffs. Let's go take care of business. Because actually, since the Super Bowl win in 2020, they've fallen every year. Lost the Super Bowl the next year, and then they lost the AFC Championship game last year. So you don't think they want to take another step back and lose the divisional round. That's not what they want to do. They want to go forward, get another ring, and at the very least, they're going to beat the Jags, in my opinion. Next, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, the number 3 seed Cincinnati Bengals taking on the number 2 seed Buffalo Bills. This was supposed to be a matchup in week 17. We got about a little less than 10 minutes, and then the game had to be stopped. So we were not able to see what these two teams were going to bring in the regular season. It was a very highly anticipated matchup, and if it comes here in the AFC divisional round, it'll be another highly anticipated matchup. I really like how both of these teams stack against each other. It kind of feels like another AFC championship game, like right here. Like this is 2 of the best teams in the league Joe Burrow really heating up. That offense is great. Defense has been good enough. And I'm surprised, even though with Leo Collins carrying his ACL, that the offensive line has held up enough and given Burrow plenty of time to be one of the best quarterbacks this season, even with his very rough start at the beginning of the year. For the Bills, you got Josh Allen. You got Stephon Diggs. You got that defense, which has taken a big loss without Von Miller in it, but can still hold their own against the very best teams in the league. So I think this is a stacked matchup. And of course, with Josh Allen, I mean, you're in almost any game you could possibly imagine. That being said, I'm going to take kind of an upset. I'm taking the Bengals, ladies and gentlemen. I am taking the Cincinnati Bengals. I really feel like this team has come out of the gate here in the last month and pushed forward. They want to make sure that this team doesn't get lost in the shuffle. You don't think they're a little bit hurt by the fact that they lost the Super Bowl against the Rams last year? Yeah, I don't think so. I think they really want to get this dub. And of course, the Bills want to as well. They haven't had that success. They haven't even gotten to the Super Bowl with Josh Allen, even though he's had so much great success. But I just have this inclination, if you will. I'm going with the Bengals. I just got that feeling. All right, our two matchups here in the NFC divisional round. We have the number 5 seed Dallas Cowboys taking on the number 1 seed Philadelphia Eagles. What's interesting about this matchup is because even though it's the NFC East, we haven't seen these teams go against each other with both quarterbacks. Of course, earlier on in the season on Sunday Night Football, they played and Cooper Rush was the quarterback for the Cowboys, and then on Christmas Eve, Gardner Minshew was the quarterback for the Eagles. So we haven't really seen these two with Hurts and Dak, the two big guns. I think it's going to be a fun matchup. We saw what the Cowboys were able to do against the Eagles defense, put on one of the bigger beatings against them this season. And I'm just interested to see how it's going to be with Hurts and Dak. That being said, I'm actually going to take the Eagles. I think they've been the stronger team. There's one thing to be said about Philadelphia's home field advantage against Dallas. I think that's going to be huge against the Cowboys. And I don't know if Mike McCarthy has it in him to keep this thing going. I did mention the one and done thing. I just think the Eagles are more structurally at that point where they can win these kind of matchups. And even though they get that bye, I think they're going to come in here and take care of business. So I got the Eagles beating the Cowboys. And in our other divisional matchup here, we have the Minnesota Vikings taking on the San Francisco 49ers. I'm sorry, Vikings. I'm sorry. I think the 49ers are going to take this one. I think the 49ers are too strong. Too strong. Again, when you're on defense, how are you going to be able to stop all those weapons? You could try to double team somebody and take one guy out of the equation, but then that allows for somebody else to get open. You got McCaffrey. They can't stop the run game anyways. We've already seen that this year. It's been kind of bad. But let's say they want to focus on stopping McCaffrey. Okay. Well, you got George Kittle that's going to be open. You got Brandon Ayuk that's going to be open. If Debo's back in that time, he's going to be open. So what do? Okay, I'll stop Kittle. Well, then you got to focus on screens and you got to focus on what kind of play calls Kyle Shanahan's going to have on paper, because I think he might be salivating at that kind of matchup. I'm just saying. I think that Vikings defense is going to be the weak point in this game. Then if Kirk gets pressured and you're down, let's say you're down 14, is he really going to be able to come back in that situation? I know the Vikings love playing from behind, but you cannot start out these games behind in the first and second quarter by like even more than 7 points. That is not going to be able to be comebackable. I'm making that word up, comebackable. They're not going to be able to come back from that kind of situation. It's just not possible. I'm sorry. So I'm going to take the 49ers. I think they have more in the tank than the Vikings do. It's time for conference championships. AFC is Bengals, Chiefs for me, and NFC is 49ers and Eagles. Let's go ahead and go to the AFC first. Bengals, Chiefs, rematch last year. Heck of a game. One of the best games of the entire year. And I know that the saying goes is that Burrow kind of owns the Chiefs. He owns Mahomes, right? Not this time around. I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game and advance to the Super Bowl. I really feel as if the Chiefs have that chip on their shoulder. I know they've got the one ring, but man, like, it just feels like this needs to be the moment. And I don't know if they've even been kind of talked about this year. And that sounds crazy, right? The Chiefs haven't been talked about, but think about it, right? All those storylines have been about the Bills. They've been about the 49ers. They've been about the Eagles. The Chiefs have been in that top 5 sphere this entire season, but really has there been a whole lot of storylines with them? I don't think so. They just kind of played Chiefs football. They've been playing some of the same football they've done for the last 5 seasons with Andy Reid and Mahomes as coach and quarterback respectively. And so I think the Chiefs want to make this change. Like, they say, all right, we know the stereotypes that the NFL fans are going to bring with us. Let's just knock it out. Knock it out. If anything, this is going to be a very high scoring game, and it could come down to like a one big turnover that really changes the momentum. So really fun matchup here. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm going to against the grain here, the knowledge that Burrow usually beats the Chiefs, and I'm saying, you know what, Chiefs, they're going to get the dub. In the NFC Championship game, I have the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. A really interesting matchup. But I think the Eagles were more dominant in their first 9 to 10 games. And then ever since McCaffrey was picked up for the 49ers, they've gone crazy. And they're the team, along with Jacksonville, that has the most momentum coming into the playoffs in terms of that win-loss record. I believe they've won 9 in a row. Correct me if I'm wrong coming into the playoffs, but I believe it's 9 in a row. It was whatever. But then you get McCaffrey and boom, your team changes instantly. And the Eagles, I think, played so great in those first 10 games, but they weren't playing the biggest of competition. And then, over here in the last 7 weeks or so, it's been good and then not great. Good and not great. So they are going to get home field advantage for this game. I just think the 49ers really have so many weapons and so much to fight for here with Shanahan that I think they are the stronger team. And the defense, man, imagine if that defense is going to go up. And I know they've got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, right? But you eliminate that, and I think they're probably one of the only teams that can stop Hurts on the ground. There's not a lot of teams that can do that. I think the 49ers could be able to do that. So I'm picking the 49ers here. I really think they've got the hot hand here. It's a rematch of Super Bowl 54, ladies and gentlemen. I have the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh baby, there's going to be a whole lot of storylines about this one, especially if both of these teams were actually to make the Super Bowl. To me, these are the number 1 and number 2 teams in the NFL. They just happen to be one from the NFC and one from the AFC. So with that being said, who do I think is going to win Super Bowl 57? Drum roll, please. I'm going with the 49ers. I think the 49ers are going to get the job done this year. Midway through the season, they realized what they needed to do was make a game-changing play. Otherwise, they're not going to have the success that they want. Sean McVay built the Rams team constructed by getting free agents, signing them, trades, whatever he had to do to get rid of draft picks. It was win now kind of situation. And I think Kyle Shanahan realized that he needed to make a play similar to that. Not all of those things that the Rams did, but somebody so big that it could work for them. And McCaffrey's been that guy. And I think he's the true X factor of the playoffs. He has everything the 49ers want. Maybe Mahomes has that heroic comeback effort that he did against the 49ers in Super Bowl 54, but you got to think as well that Shanahan is just itching, chomping at the bit to be, first of all, finally get that ring, but second, kind of get rid of that monkey off his back from losing that Super Bowl in 2020. So I think there's a lot of storylines going into that. Obviously, it's a little bit of 2 different teams here. The 49ers really have what it takes to get it done this year, what they were able to do midway through the season, and I got to credit them for that. They are very, very tough. So I'm going to pick the San Francisco 49ers to win Super Bowl 57. All right, that's going to do it for me, Dilly Vanilly. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Dilly Vanilly here on The Bottom Line View. Peace out, guys.